we're different than the regular bank. You know, our ownership has supported our bank for the last 13 years with capital when needed, and today our lending limit is close to $18 million. And we don't from our.
You're not in the gym though.
Yeah, we don't see it. Our customer base that's coming to us are still growing, and there's our average LTV is probably less than 60% LTV today in our portfolio, and we're still lending, and we're wide open for people to come to us, and as the deal underwrites, again that's the problem with a lot of folks, right? Because the deals that before underwrite at a lower interest rate, today you're getting killed because the math doesn't work anymore. So, but that's not indicative of our customer base. So we're not seeing the effects. Our bank is continuing to grow. Last month our ROE was the highest it's been in the 13 years that I'm part of this bank. So we just continue to do what we do. So I don't see it like other folks see.